Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. The main Ronnie Dyler says he isn't too worried about the threat from the Dons. Mark Warburton says he's amazed at the hysteria that's followed their defeat to St Johnstone in the League Cup. Stephen Craigan says he hasn't had time to think about the Motherwell manager's job. We'll look at
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
McAveenie is here with us to look at the weekend fixtures. Lots to talk about, guys. Here's the first one, which is, of course, Stephen Craigan says it's too early to think about that manager's job. Let's hear what he had to say. He's the interim boss at Motherwell.
There's been so much going on over the last 48 hours that I haven't had the chance to try and think of where we could go, what I would do, and all this kind of stuff. It's all been basically on in yesterday with the analysts, trying to get some preparation done for the game tomorrow. Today, about media, I haven't seen the players since the news broke, so I haven't had the chance to speak to them as yet. We'll speak to them in training this morning. We'll speak in training. So it generally hasn't. It hasn't crossed my mind. Of course, it's entered my head somewhere along the line. Could I? Couldn't I? I was told first and foremost, take the game on Saturday and see how it goes.
I think he might have thought about it, Ruffy.
Of course he is. He's wanting to get the job as a manager, there's no doubt about that. He's been on the fringe of the under-20s in Northern Ireland. He needs wins, there's no doubt about that, and if he was to get a couple of wins, maybe 3 wins, certainly the owners would have to take a look at what he's done. He seems to have the backing of the experienced players at the club. They all know each other very well, but again, it depends on what the owners think, and it depends when these candidates' names come through the post, what kind of quality that they're looking at.
Yeah, we had 30 apparently in for it yesterday, Mac. I would suggest there'll be a heck of a lot more CVs that are now in front of Les Hutchison to have a look at. But I think Stephen Craigan would be a natural choice. I think from within, there's Scott Leach there to help as well. There's a lot of good talent within Motherwell, and I think they should look closer to home.
Yeah, I think so. Stephen's he's obviously wanting the job. Let's not cut round it. He's saying, I've not had a chance to think about it. Of course he's thought about it. I knew that Ian Barraclough's time was up. We were on the show last week and we couldn't understand why he wasn't playing Scott McDonald. And I just think if you're a team struggling to score goals, you can't leave Scott McDonald on the bench. He might not do a lot, but we all know that goal scorers can win games for you, and Scott, throughout his career, has always scored goals. So I think you'll find that Craigan will bring him back in straight away and hope that it turns around, because he's experienced pro. It can help the boys run about him as well. So I think he'll get his win against Partick Thistle, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I don't think too many people would disagree with you when you look at the odds. The last 9 home matches, Motherwell have gone unbeaten against Partick Thistle, so that the omens are certainly with them, Ruffy. The good thing about when you get to a situation where you're perilously close to losing your job, the attendance starts to creep up, because you usually get about 20 or 30 managers suddenly sitting in the stand looking at the team to see if they're going to do some early homework. Ruffy.
Yeah. It will be interesting tomorrow to see who's up in the stand. I'm sure it is. I don't know why.
I'll tell you why, Ruffy. You need a job.
No, you need a job. It's sitting at the stand, just being there doesn't mean you're an automatic
last week at Dundee United. They were there midweek at Dundee United, so I heard all the vultures were out. So.
Yeah, they will be there. There's no doubt.
It's a football merry-go-round, isn't it? It's just, that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's a frenzy.
He's certainly in the box seat at the moment, and I think Alan Archibald, Ruffy, again needs that game like a hole in the head.
He does, because obviously players being players, a new manager getting in there will up their game. But I think Alan's looking for a reaction as well from his players. He needs something. The last time we were at Motherwell, it was a fantastic game, goals all over the place. So I think there will be goals tomorrow.
Yep. Ronnie Dyler, it's a strange headline, this one. Again, it's confidence, arrogance, call it what you will. Not too worried about Dons, it's about what we do. Winning the league.
Yeah, I don't think you want to worry about them now. You might worry about them at the turn of the year, you know, if they're still 5 or 6 points clear. That's when you start worrying, but not just now. You concentrate on how the team's playing just now. Be interesting to see if he introduces a couple of players that haven't played before. I'm sure everybody's dying to see Scott Allen. You know, this should be an opportunity if he's fit. That is.
Yeah.
But certainly no. I don't think he's right in saying I'm not worrying about them. But if that points were to creep up 5, 6, 7, 8, then I think you would have to start worrying.
I think that when you read the article, what he was saying, the headlines are great, not worried about them. But when you read the article, what he's saying is, if we take care of ourselves, then we shouldn't have to worry about anyone in the league. And I think what you said is correct. But as we say, that we spoke at the weekend, and you were saying 30th of January, the 31st.
That's D-Day.
I'll treat you to dinner up there, and tickets and dinner if they're so far ahead.
You think they'll be so far ahead?
I think Celtic will be far ahead. Yeah, I think they'll
by
be
the 31st.
By
so
the
they play
31st.
Aberdeen at Pittodrie on the 30th, and the 31st the table will have Celtic way out in front.
I think so. I think they'll be.
Many points.
Oh, I don't know.
What's way out?
Wait a minute.
Well, you said
what's way out in front? You're going to take us for a meal. We want to know what's way out in front.
Way out in front of McDonald's. It's I think they'll go on a run. Celtic will go on a run. I mean, they've got quality there. They've not played particularly well.
We're not arguing with you. We accept that they've got quality. We just want to know what way out in front is.
They'll be. What is it? 5 points ahead there now, Aberdeen.
Yes.
I think it will be reversed easily.
5 points.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, down Ruffy. 5 points for a meal slap up. Is it in Aberdeen?
Or whatever you want, we'll drive back.
Monaco.
Never thought of that, Ruffy. Good shout. That was absolutely magnificent. They're going to face a different half side tomorrow, Ruffy, because Robbie Nielsen has mentioned, the 2 cup defeats fine last season, different side. Now, he's brought in players. Armand Djoum, he could be in the starting lineup to make a debut, but he's got options now. He's making sure that he keeps that side strong.
They'll have to tighten up at the back. There's no doubt about it. In the last 3 or 4 games, have been leaking goals and going to Parkhead, and the Celtic are playing reasonably well. There will be chances created, and if they don't tighten up, I think they could be in the end of a 2 or 3-0. But that remains to be seen. Yes, they'll take encouragement for the late one against Kilmarnock, but again, they conceded goals in that one very, very easily. So I think it could be a hard day for them tomorrow.
Yep, they haven't got a good record against Celtic. I think it's going back to 2012, the last time they managed something against them.
I think they come up here, and they were a breath of fresh air last year in the Championship.
Yeah.
A bit like what Rangers are doing now, but they came up and they got a little run, 4 or 5 games. They were superb, and then all of a sudden now they're starting to feel that it's a Premiership, and that is a step up from the Championship. And and I think they're playing against the best tomorrow. I think so. They get Aberdeen gave them a lesson, and I think Celtic will do the same tomorrow.
Okay, let's have a look at the fixtures that we'll be looking at on the Saturday show, and we'll be bringing you all the goals that hit the back of the net. Celtic against Hearts, Dundee against Ross County. I can't split that one. Inverness against Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, Hamilton, Motherwell against Partick Thistle, and St Johnstone against Dundee United. The bottom 2, Ruffy, is I think where everybody will be looking to see what results are going to transpire there.
Yeah, obviously we spoke about the Motherwell Partick Thistle game. I think that's all about the players reacting, both sets of teams reacting to obviously the interim manager getting in there and obviously trying to get Alan Archibald a win. I'm sure the players will be desperate to get him points. Who would want to go to St Johnstone after that great win they had at Ibrox? They'll be absolutely buzzing. So it's a difficult one for Dundee United.
Yep, here's a look at the table and how it stands at the moment, and the Dons fans just never tire of it. They are 5 points clear at the bottom end. I don't think he's got a win in 12 games now. Partick Thistle desperately seeking points, as Ruffy mentioned there, and then it's Dundee United and Motherwell. Inverness Kilmarnock and St Johnstone in that bottom half. It could change again dramatically tomorrow afternoon. Join us 2 o'clock through till 6. We'll bring you the best of the action, previewing the games, and then of course the goals as they hit the back of the net. In the next part of the programme, we're going to talk Rangers boss Mark Warburton after that defeat to St Johnstone. He gives us his thoughts on the reaction to Rangers' first defeat in 12 games, and we'll hear a lot more on the Championship, League 1 and League 2. There's a few managers under pressure down south, and I'll get Macca's thoughts on that. If you were picking one right now, Macca, that could be getting the boot, who would it be?
Oh, well, there's a few down there. I don't know. Everyone was talking about Martinez at Everton, but he's turned it round, so it's just a case of turning it around. A couple of wins. You've got to look at Dick Advocaat. Yeah. That's the main man.
There's one name that Mac has come up with. We'll see if Roffy can come up with a few more as well. The pressure is increasing in the Premiership in England as well. Lots more football to come. Join us after the break on The Football Show.
Hi, I'm Chris Sutton. To win this beautiful signed shirt from me, which club did Celtic sign me from?
Welcome back to Peter and Roffy's Football Show. We're on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow Monday to Friday at 6:30. And don't forget you can watch the repeat at 10:30. And tomorrow Gordon Smith, Alan Ruff and Des McKeown will join me for 4 hours to bring you the best of the action across the football north and south of the border. The good news today is our guest in the boot room knows the way to go.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
Well, Frank McAveenie, no stranger to a wee bit of arrogance. He knew how to score a goal, and he's getting back to full fitness at the fives as well. I have to tell you, Ruff, he's starting to score goals. Looks like the old Macca from the 80s.
Yeah,
it's the hair.
Well, obviously, by all accounts, he must have stayed in last night.
Yeah,
no,
well, he was fantastic.
Never have a good game after staying in.
He's playing that well. I'm thinking of bringing Woods and Butcher back just to unsettle him. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Now into the Championship. Seems to be a fair bit of hysteria following Rangers' defeat to St Johnstone, according to the Ibrox boss Mark Warburton.
I'm amazed at some of the comments I read about, will you change this? And we've won 11 out of 11. We've played well. We've missed numerous chances on top of the goals that we've scored. That's not arrogant. That's not disrespectful. We played some good stuff early in the season. Why would you possibly change everything? Right now, on Tuesday, we made some individual errors and got punished and missed some chances. As simple as that. I've got no doubt about the quality of the team.
I think he's got a point. Alan Ruff, they've scored over 40 goals. You were beaten by a team a division above.
Yeah, I don't think there's any hysteria. You know, I think that you have to look at the game itself. You know, and they were well beaten by a good side. There's no doubt about that, and they'll move on and they'll concentrate in the league. But on the other side of the hysteria, but can you imagine the hysteria if they'd won? You know, because we're already talking about challenging Celtic and being in Europe and all the likes. So I think you can turn this one round about, because if Rangers had won that one 3-1, I think it would all have got loose, you know, and everybody, and quite rightly so, the supporters have been saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So maybe it's just a wee check to say, look, yeah, we're doing well, there's no doubt about that. The results are there for everybody to see, and he'll know himself what he's got to do to improve.
I always think, Macca, your eyes and the facts are the best judge when it comes to looking at sides. If a manager and an owner says the team will need 6 players just to compete going up a stage, that tells you that the team that's there at the moment will not be the team that's playing in the Premiership.
Of course, the team out there are good enough, they'll romp the Championship, the same as what Hearts done last year, but they get a little shock the other night, because, you know, some of the young boys, and there are a lot of kids, you know, when they lose the ball, they just don't get back, you know, and sometimes I've seen Wallace overlapping a few times the other night, and when the boy lost the ball, there was nobody there because Wallace was in front of him, and the wee understanding wasn't there, whereas that works in the Championship. It doesn't work against better players, but it shows you he was talking about hysteria, but the hysteria when Ronnie Delia and Celtic lost against Aberdeen, There was a catastrophe, you know, and yet Rangers lost the other night to St Johnstone, and all of a sudden they'll learn off it.
Yeah.
You know, that's part and parcel with being the Old Firm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I was just about to say, Michael, let's not suggest conspiracy theories on this programme.
No, I don't mean that, but that's part and parcel of being the Old Firm. You know, if you lose a game, you know, the press will come down on you, and quite rightly in a lot of cases. But you know, the manager Warburton, you'll get used to that. You know, David Weir will tell him all about that.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. He's well, you know, equipped to handle all that type of pressure. Of course, it's Hibs against St Mirren. Morton take on Rangers on the 27th, but it's Hibs against St Mirren. Here's the fixtures. Here's how it looks in the Championship. Of course, Falkirk take on Queen of the South tonight. I think all Peter Houston says to the players is just forget about it and try and deal with cross balls, because you couldn't deal with 7 that hit the net the other night there. So that's got a tasty look about it. Alloa Livingston, Hibs against St Mirren, Wraith Rovers against Dumbarton. Hibs St Mirren. Again, now I think if we're talking about momentum, I think Hibs have it.
Yeah, I think they have, particularly in midfield. I like the players they've got in there. I think they're all playing very, very good football. And obviously, if Cummins back on that goal scoring run, Malonga as well, you know, he's got options. There's no doubt about that. But I definitely like the McGinn in there, Henderson in there, McGeoch in there. Good players, good footballers.
They know how to get on the ball and keep hold of it.
If they all can get on it, if they can get on some kind of run, you know, you've got. There's no point getting a good result in the midweek and then sort of dropping points on the Saturday. This is the one where they've got to actually go and have another convincing win and keep everybody happy, because if they go on a wee run, the supporters will come back in numbers, and that's what they need.
We've talked about momentum, but I mean the other side of it, St Mirren, they must be so down, and I mean, they've just not been able to put 2 passes together. It's really incredible. I thought they would have been challenging with Hibs against Rangers, but
well, it's funny you say that, Macca, because right across all the divisions, whether it's north of the border or south of the border, you know, there are teams that are just not performing, and suddenly everybody's looking at them. A new manager comes in. Ian Murray deserves time. I mean, I'll give you an example. Steve McLaren, I think he's only, you know, is he 15 weeks in the job? Suddenly.
They're crying out for him.
You know, Brendan Rodgers been in 4 years. I mean, the one thing, the recurring theme through all the managers here, you know, I was reading Stephen Presley's comments this morning saying that you know, managers need time, and they always you know, throw up Sir Alex Ferguson and what happened at Manchester United. But that is, in some ways, the exception to the rule nowadays. The whole world has moved on. The chairman, the boards, they moved on from those days. And quite simply, sometimes there are managers that don't deserve time, Rafi.
No, but as far as down in England's concerned, the whole emphasis is on finance. You know, there's so much money available. There's so much money
it's the next year's
to lose. You know, and that's when the board make drastic measures, because they look at the figures, they look at their budgets, they look at the wages that people are getting, and then all of a sudden they go, if we drop out of here, we're in Stoke, because we're getting so much money. So then they obviously say, well, if we get rid of him, who else is there? And then they look about at people who tried and trusted. You look at the Ranieris, you know, the advocates, and they start bringing them in. So, but they're not given that they're going to turn it round either.
I mean, there's only one win for St Mirren in the Championship. I understand where you're coming from on it, but again, he wants to build his own side. Yeah,
but how long do you get when they're trying to sell the club? You know, Stuart Gilmour's been in the board. They've been trying to sell it for such a long time now. They've no debt. But you know, the supporters are not going to go if they don't start winning. You know, and it's a big cause for them at the moment. So good luck to them, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of your former clubs, Frank. If you're anything like Ruffy, you've got about 42 scars in the top drawer.
3 of them. I've only got 3.
We will look at the fixtures from League One, because the lower league's certainly interesting as well. Albion Rovers, Stennismuir, Ayr United, Peterhead. For me, is game of the day in that division. Ruffy, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think Ayr United have been the team of the year in the lower divisions. I think Ian McCall's in there. He's brought in a lot of. It's not taken him very long to get the players in that he wanted. He acted very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, everybody down at Ayr is enjoying what they're doing, and certainly the results against Dunfermline and the likes. He needs to win his home games.
Here's League 2 for tomorrow. We'll keep you up to date with all the games. Annan against Elgin City. I'm sure Jim Chapman at the moment is just trying to plot that one to make sure they maintain their challenge at the top. That's going to be a good game. Clyde Berwick Rangers, East Stirling against Arbroath, Montrose, East Fife, and Stirling Albion against Queen's Park. I think the top one is the fixture. A quick look at our predictions. Mackie, you can give us your thoughts on when you think Ruffy or myself is in the zone here. Look at the scoreline. Ruffy is so far ahead. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There's no way back for me, surely. Celtic for the win. Can't separate Dundee, Ross County. Aberdeen, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, and St Johnstone for me.
So that's the only difference. Motherwell, you've took.
Yeah, I've taken Motherwell.
I think you could get 3 points on them easy. Yeah, I think you'll get something.
Yeah, I think they'll get something, but of course, as you can see, erring on the side of caution in case they take his painting down at Firhill. Ruffy's gone for a 1-1 1-1 draw. You know the way he operates,
I know.
He's got to make sure everybody loves him.
Everyone's covered.
Absolutely, all bases are covered. Can I just say to you on that, I mean, Steve McLaren, you mentioned Dick Advocat, Brendan Rodgers under pressure down south. If there was one...
Down south, they're talking about Newcastle.
Yes.
It's the old jokes word that said that we were talking about earlier. It's magnificent. They were asking who's going to take over from McLaren at Newcastle, and they were talking about Jurgen Klopp.
Yes.
And he says he's not taking it, but his brother Clippity will take it.
I mean,
unbelievable. I like it. Sorry.
I mean, it's just the worst joke ever, but
I think it's great. Anyway.
Listen, Klopp's been mentioned for Liverpool jobs. Do you think? I think Brendan Rodgers under pressure, Ruffy, briefly.
Yeah, I think he is. There's no doubt about that. I think when other managers start getting mentioned for it, there's always a writing on the wall. Is his brother Clippity? Is that just a joke?
On that note, you can tell where this programme's going. Listen, join us if you can tomorrow. We'll probably talk more about all the managers that are actually buying tickets to sit in the stand and see where the next job's coming from. Thanks to Macca as our top drawer. From Ruffy and myself, good night.